feel like this whole video is just a tutorial on how to dress like the Michelin Man. Hey everyone, Happy New Year. Welcome to 2021. If you're new around here, an extra welcome to you. I find every January there's a couple of new faces. Maybe you want to make this the year you sewed, and I'm happy to help you with that. We're gonna kick things off with an easier project. Here in Canada, we are in the chilly months of the year, so I thought we might as well look cute and accessorize while we survive the winter. We're gonna make some cute winter accessories that I've just had floating around in my mind, or I've seen them on Instagram, and today we're gonna make them a reality. Let's turn up the heat. I want to thank this video's sponsor. They are the ones who have been keeping me smelling nice and now more sustainable than ever in my armpits. It is Native Deodorant. Last year, you guys heard me talk about how I love their aluminum-free, paraben-free, sulfate-free, vegan, cruelty-free deodorant that smells great and works great, and now comes in even more sustainable packaging. More on that later. The first project we're gonna go with is Mittens. TNA has really gone so nuts with their Super Puff line, and now they have Super Puff Mittens, and I just think they're so cute. I have this sage green, beautiful nylon ripstop. You really don't need much. The other ingredients you will need, why do I sound like I've been cooking too much? This sounds like a cooking video now. Is some cotton batting as well as some fleece, which will make the inside nice and comfortable. From the materials, we're gonna cut out a mitten pattern. I took the glove pattern that was developed when I did last year's Ariana Grande gloves, and you just merge the fingers together and it's a mitten. There are 3 shapes in total that come out of this. One back of the hand, one palm of the hand, and one the finger. Assemble. I always just look at the reference photo. So they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stitches that go across. Looks like they're roughly like an inch apart from each other. Okay, my machine just made a really scary sound. I've never cleaned it and it's been with me for 5 years, so. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. I'm so sorry you had to see that. I'm sorry to myself. Diagnosis. Earlier, I noticed the bobbin plate was jiggling a bit inside of this holder, and since I was able to pull out 2 broken needles that were magnetically stuck to this plate, I think this should now sit nice and snug. No more jiggling. Since the quilting stitch is decorative, I should start it over again since I stopped partway. Okay, where did we leave off yesterday? I had to go wash my eyeballs from that experience. I did a basting stitch all the way around the back pieces, palm pieces, and I also did it for the thumb pieces. I'm just sewing the thumb to the palm right sides together along this entire opening. It is kind of tricky, so you might want to bring out the invisible zipper foot to make maneuvering a little bit easier. Last step with the shell. Why do I feel like this is taking so long? So it's prime example of me saying we're gonna do easy projects. It's always like this. I'm gonna try to line up the quilted lines along the side as best I can to help it look nice and professional, and sew it along the top curve. Cute! Deceptively like oven mitts. If your New Year's resolution was baking, I have you covered as well, I guess. Although you definitely should make it out of a different material. The next step is to repeat literally all of these assembly steps using the lining fabric. To insert, just make sure you don't get your hands mixed up. The goal here is that you want the inside to be just a little bit shorter than the outside so that the rim of the glove curls inwards and you don't see any of this black fabric on the outside when you're wearing it. Just gonna put this glove in its little sleeping bag. I'm gonna sew all the way almost around the wrist, but just leave a little gap so that we can flip it inside out. In the home stretch, I can see the light. Flip. Then you want to ease this lining all the way inside. Black fabric all gone. Last step, just a little hand sewing to close off that one opening we left for the flip. I don't know what else to do to really show you that I made gloves. You get it? Gloves. Mittens. We made them. Okay, we get to do something a little different. We're gonna go over to Julia's for a little change in scenery. If you're new to this channel, Julia is my amazing assistant, and if you're new to COVID lockdowns, that is the reason why we did not get to shoot this one together in person, as usual. But first, a quick word about this video sponsor. My favorite deodorant, which keeps me smelling nice while I'm sewing, because sewing is my cardio, is Native Deodorant. And because the customers were asking for it, there is an all new, exciting announcement, totally plastic-free packaging. Wah! Ooh, that was a nice smell that just got released. It is still aluminum-free, paraben-free, sulfate-free, and still has so many great scents for you to choose from if you want to check it out. I've got 3. The coconut and vanilla smells like a warm hug, citrus and herbal musk. This one's more like alluringly mysterious. And finally, charcoal, nice and simple. Ooh, this might be my favorite because it's got such a nice, gentle scent, nice and soft. Native has committed 1% of all of their plastic-free deodorant sales to environmental non-profits. And if you check the link in the description, you'll see a lot of familiar ingredients like coconut oil, shea butter. It's all vegan, cruelty-free. I feel like it's very obvious why this is my favorite deodorant. The last thing that is free is free shipping to the USA. And if you want an extra 25% off, check the link in the description. Use my code WITHWENDY2. You can get the 3-pack that is normally $39 for $29 instead. Thank you, Native, for keeping my armpits happy. I don't know about you guys, but I find I use more deodorant in the winter because all the sweaters and bundling up confuses my body temperature regulation. Maybe it's because of watching The Crown, but I'm in a bit of a headscarf frame of mind. For winter, change it up and do a puffy one, like one of these ones that I've been seeing on Instagram. You could go with a simple triangle shape, but we're gonna do like a hooded scarf shape so that there's actually a point to making a tutorial about it. Just like the mittens, you'll need a nylon ripstop in any color, fleece for some lining, and the quilt batting one more time.
We're gonna need 3 general measurements. So the first measurement is at your neck in between your collarbones, around your head, and then back to mid collarbone point. Top of your head, you kind of want to hit front to mid scalp region. And from that same measurement, you're going to take 1/3 of it and then add 3/4 inch. And then for the second measurement, it's going to be from your hairline at eye level around the back of your head and to the other side. And then from that measurement, we just need half of it. For the third measurement, I'm going to measure from front mid section of your scalp and then back down to where you would want the hood to end.
Measurement 1 becomes this first straight line that's on the left, A to B. Then take 1 inch off of measurement 1, and that becomes the straight line that goes across the top from B to C. You add a 1.5 inch small straight line at the end, that is C to D. And from the midpoint of that first line, you add a 3/4 inch line to the left, this is E to F, and then draw your measurement 2 extending to the right, this is E to G. A couple more tweaks come in 1 inch from the upper left corner, that gives you point H, and then you also add a midpoint between B and C, which gives you point I. Okay, pause, just a quick interjection. I know normally I would just tell you guys to like trace the shape of a hoodie that you already own. I do want to indulge us in just a little bit more pattern drafting than usual. I'll try to move through this efficiently, but in the future, if you want more of this, please let us know in the comments and we'll try to work it out. Back to Julia. Using her own bodice block, she added this back curved neckline, A to J, and again, 3/4 inches away from that back seam, she added another back neckline, this time with the full shoulder, and the little point of it is K. This shoulder becomes a bit of a guide for adding the front neckline, and then she adds a mark 3 inches away from K, which is mark L, and another mark that is 3/8 inches back from L, which is point M. Connect M and H, add a mark 3/4 inches down from H, which is point N, and then add 1 1/8 inches to both sides of N, which becomes O and P. Whew, with all of those satisfying measurements laid out, the French curved ruler comes in so you can start to see the soft hood shape emerge. This here is a snug hood, so for a more relaxed fit, Julia cut it out and then did a little slash and spread to the pattern. Taping that to a fresh piece of paper, the hood is now a more comfortable size, and you can add the cute little ties for the front. Slash and spread gets us a front hood piece that will finish off the front edge, and then a 2-inch wide section along the bottom of the hood helps separate the pieces that you're going to need from the outer shell, tie, and the lining to make the inside layer of the hood. This assortment of pattern pieces gets you this. We've got 2 layers of the front hood, 1 hood shell with batting, 1 hood lining with 2 symmetrical pieces of facing, and 2 little ties. Start with adding the quilted lines in the hood, and then sew the back seams together, making sure the quilted stitches all line up.
Seams are matching. So I ended up tapering the front a little bit. I cut off this portion because we're going to be adding more I didn't want to make it too forward facing. For the next part, we're gonna sew the lining to the facing. And then after we sewed the facing, we're gonna attach the tie end piece, pin it, and then sew straight down.
Now that the lining has the facing and the ties attached, it can be assembled just like the outer shell.
I feel like this is pretty cute too, with like the contrast colors.
Back to the hood front, it's these 2 moon shapes in blue plus 1 moon shape in batting. Sewing them together along the outer curve makes a clean and not bulky finish for the front. You can understitch everything to the side with the batting to keep the edge nice and neat, and then fold the whole moon shaped closed with a stay stitch. Line up the shell, the hood front, and the lining right sides together. You can sew all the way around, but just like with the mittens, make sure you leave a gap somewhere on the bottom for flipping it inside out. Flip that whole thing right side out, hand stitch the gap closed, and we've got ourselves a cute winter hood scarf. Okay, one last project. If the hood and the mittens are a little bit scary for you, you could make one of these sleek, super minimal puffer scarves. I feel like this whole video is just a tutorial on how to dress like the Michelin Man. If we aren't dressing like cute little puff balls, what is the point of winter and suffering anyway? Same materials as the other 2 winter accessories with way more straightforward dimensions. I'll put them in the description. And also there's one part I genuinely don't know how Julia is going to do. She figured it out, so we're gonna see what happens.
So I have a dilemma. I need to cut out the batting, but Luna's sleeping on it. What do I do?
We've got a rectangle of the shell fabric, 2 layers of batting this time, and then the fleece lining one more time.
I finished cutting the batting and then she found her spot again. Luna. So I just pinned together the self to the batting and I drew a chalk line going down the center lengthwise, and we're just gonna attach them together with a straight stitch. Same thing with the fleece lining and batting.
You know the drill by now. We start with, let me hear ya, quilting stitches. One goes down the middle to connect the shell to one of the batting layers, and then one goes down the middle to connect the lining to the other batting layer.
Okay, so there's a couple of things I did off camera. First off, I added a stay stitch along the outside of the shell and the batting, and then also the fleece and the batting. Second, I realized that the 2 layers of batting isn't puffy enough as the Montclair scarf. I added 1 more layer of batting in between these to see how puffy it would be. The Montclair scarf is really intense, so I added 1 more, and it does look a lot poofier, so I'm probably gonna go with 4 layers. Also, I realized that we probably didn't need to add that quilting line down the center because we need to sew all the layers together in order to get that bulge. Is that a good word? That puffiness. But we can still do it at the end. We can manage. I'm just gonna cut out 1 more layer of batting, and then I'm gonna sew 1 layer to the shell and then 1 layer to the fleece. Okay, so I finished adding the stay stitch to the edge. Next step is to add the slit, but in the reference picture, it looks like the slit is pretty high up. So I actually might just move the slit a little further down, just so you can feed more of the scarf through it. Go down about 6 inches and then have the gap opening be 8 inches. So the next part, I'm gonna put 2 pieces, right sides to right sides, and I'm gonna pin them together. I'm gonna mark where the slit starts and ends. We're gonna sew the perimeter of it. The ends are gonna be pointed, and then it's just gonna go down, around, and then point at the end as well. I'm gonna use a smaller stitch length, go around twice with a slight gap in between the 2 stitch lines, just so it reinforces that seam. So when you're taking the scarf in and out, it doesn't suddenly open up. So what you're gonna do is take just 1 side and just push everything through the hole.
Wow!
In order to seal the outer edge, we're gonna do the roll-up method.
This is the part that I actually have no idea how this is done.
And because you want right side to right side, you're going to take 1 end and literally roll it up from underneath. You're gonna take it, flip it, and then get this right side to that right side. And then you're gonna pin everything in place.
I feel like that hunchback meme. Witchcraft.
Witchcraft!
So we're gonna sew 1 side halfway and then a little bit past the slit. Take it inside out. Repeat it to the other side. So 1 side is completely sealed. For the other side, so you can sew from where we left off all the way down, around, and then around again. Here you can stop and you can leave the gap so you can pull everything out again.
Finish with flipping it right side out for the last time and then close the gap by hand. You know this drill by now too. Also, that long middle seam was never quilted through the entire scarf, so give that a final run through the machine. And this is the outcome of what can only be described as Julia's sorcery. Let me know which of these cute winter accessories you like the most. Also, this was Julia's first time filming by herself in her place, and I think she killed it, so feel free to give extra love to Julia if you love her as much as I do. Don't forget to check out this video's sponsor, Native, and their brand new plastic-free packaging on the same great deodorant. And if you want to see some sewing basics videos that I've made in the past, I'll put a link to those in the description so you can check them out and decide if you want to really get into this sewing thing, because this is what happens to you as you go down that journey. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next video. Bye-bye.